Good morning, everyone, and welcome, and thank you for registering to take the time to attend this virtual open day on careers at South London and Mordsley NHS Foundation Trust, which is affectionately known as SLaM. My name is Jo Parker. I'm an interim senior HR business partner here at SLaM. I'm going to be your facilitator for today's event, supported behind the scenes by colleagues from the comms team, Lamide Ojitaleo and Guy Foxen. You'll be seeing more about Guy later on during the agenda because he'll be presenting. So as well as enabling this virtual event, Lamide and Guy will also be keeping an eye on the chat function, which we hope you will pop questions and comments into as we move through the event. I think all your speakers should be on mute at the moment. If that's not the case, I respectfully ask you to keep yourself on mute throughout the event. The purpose of the day then is to promote the enabling services and roles that support our incredible clinical and medical doctors and nurses. This is with the hope that if you are looking for career opportunities or openings at the current time or in the near future, that you will keep SLaM on your radar. The other thing to say, a couple of housekeeping things. This is actually the first virtual event of this kind that SLaM has put on, so we would really welcome any feedback that you want to pop into the comments chat as we go along, which if you haven't done one of these events before, it's two little speech bubbles which you should be able to see at the top of your screen with a question mark on. And the other thing is, again, because it is the first time we've done this, please bear with us if there are any technical glitches as we go through. Okay, so we have a diverse range of staff speaking and presenting today about the services they work in, the approach to work at SLaM, our values, why SLaM is such a great place to develop your career. And also a few of the presenters will be talking about their own personal career journey into SLaM. The other thing I just need to make you aware of is we've got a couple of changes to the agenda. We have Neil Jackson presenting on the critical role of estates and facilities at midday. That's instead of Graham Richards. Neil is SLaM's Director of Estates and Facilities. And we have Ricky Mckennan, who will be presenting on the pivotal role of digital services at 1 p.m. instead of Maria Dombavand. Ricky is SLaM's Acting Chief Information Officer. And if anyone is intending to stay for the whole event, we have built in a comfort screen break for shortly after midday. We've also built in a couple of pit stops to see if we can answer any questions you might have. However, we are also hoping there might be a tiny bit of time at the end of each presentation to take one or two questions then. And if we don't get time to respond to questions, I would say that as this event has been by registration, we do have email addresses, so we would be able to follow up and respond to any themes that come out of the day that we don't get a chance to address. So we have a really lovely busy schedule, and I will now hand you over to Nnamdi Ngoka, who is our Deputy HR Director, to formally kick off with an introduction to SLaM.
Thank you very much, Jo. Really good introduction. So we've got a few slides I'd like to put off. So we can put off slide 1 initially while I start off the session. So I guess, first of all, thank you for joining us today for our virtual open day. As Jo mentioned, we've got a really exciting program, and I hope many of you here today consider applying for posts with us following today's session. My name is Nnamdi, and I'm the Deputy Director of HR. I just wanted to briefly tell you a bit about our rich history and some of our work as a key healthcare employer in the southeast of London. As a healthcare trust, we provide a range of mental health and addiction services across a number of London boroughs, approximately 7 in total, which includes boroughs as far as Bexley, Croydon, Greenwich, Lambeth, Lewisham, Southwark and Wandsworth. I think actually internationally, for example, we also support our British forces in Germany, Gibraltar, and we provide services in the Middle East, which you'll hear about later today. I think, however, we came from very humble beginnings. The Bethlehem, one of our main hospital sites, was the first mental health hospital of its kind and the oldest psychiatric institution in the world. You can actually visit the Bethlehem Gallery and the museum, which is based in the original administrative building at the site itself. And though it's been radically designed to contain a permanent exhibition space, as well as a contemporary art exhibition, and with a space which a number of artists actually who have experienced mental difficulty do come and present some of their work. So if you go on to slide 2. So, I mean, who we are today. I mean, we provide the widest range of mental health services in the UK, as you can see. In terms of the trust itself, we operate across 4 main hospital sites. Though we do operate, as I said, internationally. Across our sites, we employ over 5,000 staff in a variety of clinical and non-clinical roles, some of which you hear about today as well, ranging from porters to healthcare support workers, social workers, psychologists. We also employ mental health nurses, doctors and technicians. And we have really close links, I think, which is really important with the education and research organisations. For example, the IOPPN, King's College London, where we jointly employ staff together. So there's a range of opportunities across not just our trust, but also our partners. I think we also recognise that nearly half of all people actually with a mental illness also have potentially one form of long-term physical condition. So we do work very closely as well with our King's Health Partner Trusts, for example, the large acute trusts that neighbour us, Guy's at St Thomas's and King's College Hospital. I think it's well noted that South London also has a local population which is quite complex with physical and mental comorbidities. I think, however, when we think about this across this backdrop, as you can see, the feedback from our patients is that 85% of them would actually recommend us to friends and family, and our service users as well find that our staff are quite kind and caring. I think this is really important to us as well, and I'll talk about our values quite in the next slide. So go to the next slide, please. And we're quite a proud and diverse organisation, and this shows some of the examples you can see of our achievements and our innovations. The slide provides a few examples of some of the work and some of our awards that we've been sort of recognised for. So, for example, if you look at the smoke-free, our success actually in that area was highlighted by a Royal College of Physicians report. We've been awarded a Global Digital Exemplar status. Our FREED, which is the first episode of rapid early intervention for eating disorders, which helps 16 to 25-year-olds with eating disorders, was also recognised for its excellence in mental health care category in the NHS Parliamentary Awards in 2019. We've also had a really good feedback on our mother and baby unit. There was a programme by Louis Theroux in the BBC in 2019. So lots of good awards, lots of good recognition across the organisation. And we know we're an important provider of services in the southeast of London, which we do want to maintain. On to the next slide, please. I think importantly, we recognise that to continue to achieve what we have, it's really important that we have a really diverse and innovative workforce. And we continue to seek to employ an inclusive workforce across southeast London that actually mirrors the communities we serve. So hence, locally, we have a number of network groups that supports us in achieving these. And if you come to work for us, you hear about some of these. So we have a Black and minority ethnic network group. We have a lived experience network group, because we actually recognise the importance of employing people as well with lived experience of mental health. And we also have a very strong and thriving LGBT network. And our network groups are actually there to actually support us and are quite instrumental in championing some of the work we do and ensuring that our staff are supported at work. And it's really important to have these network groups because they kind of keep us in check and make sure that we are creating a great place to work across our whole organisation. Just go on to slide 5, please, the next slide. I think it's important to mention as well that as an employer, we're really focused on our 5 commitments, and they're really important to us. So you see this across the organisation. It sort of embodies everything we do and embodies our values as an employer. And while we see that they're all equally important, I think we do recognise that it's important for our staff that in all they do, they're caring, they're kind, and they're polite in all interactions. And we see this in our feedback from our patient surveys in terms of how our service users find our staff and our colleagues when they come and receive care from us. But also our staff surveys also show us that our staff are really, really engaged and they really enjoy their work here. I think that's sort of focus on being quite caring, quite kind and quite polite, and also trying to build a sort of a really good, diverse and inclusive workforce are really important to us, and they're the main things that drive us as an organization. And finally, I just wanted to say on the last slide is, we really want you to come to us, come and join us, stay with us, work with us, enjoy your careers here. We will support you as an organization, ensure you have the best working life you can across our different services. And also, before I forget, it's also important that you do join us and follow us on our social media platforms, hear about our work, our latest news, and do look out for roles and opportunities to be part of our fantastic trust. Just want to say welcome to today. Hope you have a really good and enjoyable experience. And most importantly, I think just enjoy the rest of the sessions and hear from our speakers, hear from our staff, hear from their experiences of working here, and hear about all the work that's going on across the organization. So thank you all very much for coming today and enjoy the experience. I now hand you over to Danielle, who's going to talk to you about some of our engagement work across the trust.
Danielle, you're on mute.
Had to be the first one to do it. Thank you so much, Namdi, and hello to everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Danielle Perlman and I work on our communications team here at SLaM. And today I'm going to talk to you a bit about a campaign that we're running. It's called South London Listens, and also how we are working with our communities. So Lamade, if you can just share the slides. Great, and if we can just jump right in and move to the first one. So I guess as a starting point, it's worth noting that the focus of the role I'm currently in kind of came about because of the pandemic and almost transformed overnight. So I'll give you a bit of a background story about both the South London Listens campaign and how my role completely changed. I remember about a year ago now getting a call from our director of communications, and he said to me, Danielle, we need to hold an urgent virtual summit. And I said to him, okay, great. When? Next week, he said. And if you cast your minds back to this time last year, when navigating Zoom and virtual meeting rooms was a complete unknown quantity and we were all brand new to it, you can imagine the shock that I was facing at that point. But we had to do it. We had to kind of put this virtual summit together, and we collaborated with our amazing digital services team, who you'll be hearing from today, with colleagues from across the trust, with all 4 leaders of our local authorities, and most importantly, with our communities. And we pulled off the first of its kind ever mental ill health prevention summit. And it was attended by around 1,000 people online, which was phenomenal. And this campaign, South London Listens, came out of that summit. So really, we're recognizing that the pandemic is already and will have an ongoing impact on mental health. And we must face that challenge. And we want to work with our communities to support people. So this openness and kind of knowing that we need to work with our communities strengthens our approach, because we want to build solutions that we can take forward together. So we partnered with Citizens UK, who are a national charity, and also as part of a wider task force. And we're working on this vitally important campaign to begin asking people what they care about most and what can make a real difference. And this is even small changes that we can make together. So through Citizens UK and learning how we're working and partnering with them is one of the foundations of community organising. And that is the methodology of working in this relational way through listening, and hence the South London Listens campaign. And it's the premise that people who are closest to the issues often know best how to solve them. So we must be working with our communities now it's more important than ever. So that brings us to the point of how the South London Listen campaigns fits within the context of today's Open Day. Next slide, please, Lamade. So we've been going out into our communities and we're asking these two key questions. What is putting pressure on your well-being and the well-being of the people you care about? And what has or could help? And one of the key themes that is coming through loud and clear is all around work, jobs, and the economy. And we've heard powerful stories about how this listening work complements and deepens our understanding of all these key themes that are being identified. And I'd actually just like to take a moment to recognize and appreciate all of you who've joined us here today, because those of you are here, many of you, are potentially going through change yourself. You might be starting out the beginning of your journey as a young adult, or you're pivoting into a whole new career direction. And this uncertainty that comes with change is amplified now in parallel to this key central theme of the pandemic, which is a feeling of uncertainty around our economic future individually and collectively. But we want to take an optimistic view. And what I'm getting across is that we understand we need to be working with our communities, and how can we be playing a role in supporting people? SLaM has a role to play. Next slide, please, Lamade. So how can we meet these challenges? We want to create what is known as an anchor institution economy, because public sector organizations can use their employment and spending to support the economy. Time for a jargon buster. It's one of the things that happen, acronyms and jargon busters. And if anything, I want to make sure that this convey that everything is understood clearly. So the concept of an anchor institution is where large organizations such as the NHS, universities, local authorities need to play an active role in protecting the economic resilience of our community to make tangible difference. And we can do that. We want to start to create these solutions through the listening work so that we are addressing the social and economic factors that are actually widening health inequalities. So how can we better support sharing job opportunities with local communities? And I'm already seeing loads of comments from you in the chat asking about opportunities. Please do share any ideas of how we can be better at sharing these communities at a local level. Last slide, please, Lamade. So another story. I'd like to conclude by saying that we are proud to be living wage accredited. And there's great significance to why I'm sharing this, because this campaign that brought about the Living Wage Foundation was through Citizens UK and community organising as a way of shining example about how working with our communities is so powerful. So the Living Wage campaign was when parents came together and they said, we're working 2 to 3 jobs just to be able to support our families. So through community organising, they took action together. They listened and they brought about the real living wage. And now today, the Living Wage Foundation puts billions of pounds back into the pockets of some of our poorest communities. So I'll end as I started, with an optimistic view. There are possibilities. I know that when crisis happens, fragmentation often follows, and maybe we are all feeling uncertain at the moment. But SLaM has a role to play, and we want to explore how we can be part of those solutions together with our communities. I hope that you enjoyed today's presentations as we share these opportunities and routes into different careers so you can learn more about what it could be like working here at SLaM. Thank you. And I'll be handing now back to Joe. Joe, I think you're on mute now. It's a tough one, I know. You've got to keep.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Danielle. That was really, really interesting. Our next speaker is Adam Price, who is going to speak about the very commercial future of SLaM. So over to you, Adam.
Thanks, Joe. There we go. I'm live. So whilst we get the slides up, hello from me. I'm Adam Price. I'm Head of Business Development at SLaM. Thanks very much for joining. I will take a few minutes to talk to you a little bit about the commercial team at SLaM, what we do and what sort of opportunities we have and the sort of opportunities that we will have in the future as well. Could I please have the next slide, Lamide? I've always wanted to do that. I feel like Chris Whitty on the daily briefings. Thank you very much. So what does commercial mean for an NHS mental health trust? So I've worked at SLaM for 6 years, and all of that has been in the commercial team. And you know, once you're working in an organisation, you sort of it loses a bit of its meaning, and you don't sort of think about it too much. So I went to the dictionary. And commercial is defined in the Oxford Dictionary as being connected with the buying and selling of goods or services, like our market stall keeper over there, or the plumber, or making or intending to make a profit. And interestingly, I would say that both of those definitions are actually pretty relevant for what we do. So clearly, as a NHS mental health trust, our core business is providing clinical services, but we also provide a range of other services as well, like education and training. And really, the commercial team, wherever possible, does actually try to make profit on those activities, particularly where the funders are non-public sector bodies. And the reason that we do that is so that we can use that profit to reinvest into infrastructure and additional support services that actually improve the quality of the services that we provide to our local population. And so it's really important, and it's something that I'm personally very passionate about. I'll tell you a little bit more about what some of those services are. If I could have the next slide, please. Yeah, so we do a range of different things in the commercial team. So I sort of put them into different buckets. So there's the intellectual property bucket, which is really all about sort of protecting and then wherever possible commercializing some of the non-tangible assets that we have as an organization. So for example, clinical handbooks, academic books, training packages and trademarks. And it's really as a result of that intellectual property that we've been able to export some of our intellectual property nationally and abroad. Another big component of what we do is tendering. So that is really where we develop proposals for big commissioning organisations that are looking to purchase services. So for example, a local authority might be looking for a new substance misuse provider, and we work hand in hand with our clinical teams to develop a proposal and really pitch for that business. Likewise, we develop business cases for investment as well. So in the next couple of slides, I'll talk a little bit about some of our commercial ventures, that many of which sort of started with business cases for investment, some investment internally and some externally as well, to develop new and novel commercial ventures. Next slide, please. So one of those highly successful ventures that we've launched is called Mordsley Learning. And what Mordsley Learning is really an external facing business unit that provides high quality education and training services to other healthcare providers, but then also other statutory organisations such as the police and fire service, social care and voluntary sector organisations. As well as commercial organisations as well. And one of the sort of flagship products within the Mordsley Learning portfolio is Mordsley Simulation, which is really high quality training service whereby we actually have actors in that act out particular scenarios with clinical teams that are then filmed and observed by another proportion of the team, who then sort of debrief as a result of the sort of intervention that they've just acted out in person. So a really immersive experience that is actually award-winning, and you can see some of the team members there winning an award for some of that work. So really exciting business that's grown pretty exponentially in the few years since we've launched it. So I think it started as about 10 people and is now sort of getting on for 40 or 50 people. So a really great opportunity to be part of a growing team and to develop in that team as well. Next slide, please. One of our other flagship ventures is called Mordsley Health. So as Namdi mentioned at the beginning, we actually have an international footprint in the United Arab Emirates. So in 2015, we launched in partnership with a local organisation in the UAE. We launched outpatient services in Abu Dhabi, starting with child and adolescent services, and then later expanding to adult services as well. And then in 2018, we won a multi-million-pound contract in Dubai, which was to support the running of a 276-bed government-run mental health hospital called the Al Amal Hospital. And we're 3 years into that contract now, with ambitions to growing that footprint as well. So it's again a really sort of exciting opportunity that not all NHS trusts have sort of embarked upon. There's a lot of support from the government and from the Department of International Trade, and so again that's something that's I think really unique at SLaM and provides lots of really interesting career opportunities for people looking to perhaps have a few years working in a different country and a different cultural experience. And next slide, please. Final slide, I think. So, and our latest venture is private care. So we've sort of done private care services in the outpatient clinics in Abu Dhabi, but have yet to sort of launch them domestically. And so this is one of our more recent business cases that we have developed. And later this year, we'll be launching private care services. So unlike Mordsley Learning, which is a pretty large team now, the private care team at the moment is just simply me. So I am very interested in drumming up some interest in some of the exciting roles that I'll be recruiting to over the course of the next few months. Sorry. So I'm be looking to recruit a red hot team to support really high quality outpatient private services run by SLaM. So I'm going to need a practice manager and administration staff, reception staff. I'm going to need people supporting some of the marketing and business development work. So lots and lots of really interesting opportunities that will be coming up, and I'd be happy to share my details if anyone would like to learn a little bit more about some of those roles. And so before I pass on, I think I'll just kind of close by saying that, as I mentioned, I've been working at SLaM for 6 years, and it's been a really, really excellent organisation that has really supported me in my personal and my professional development. I was an apprentice at SLaM over the last 2 years, and got a degree as a result of that program. I've been to the United Arab Emirates through working for SLaM as well, and this latest venture, launching private care, again is a really unique opportunity that has really supported my professional development. So I'm really enthusiastic about the organisation and hope that you are too. And like I said, very happy to have a chat with anyone that would be keen on finding out more. Thanks very much. On mute, Joe.
Sorry, I'm sorry, everybody. I don't know why that keeps happening. Thank you, Adam. Again, very interesting, and I myself am learning quite a bit from this day. Our next speaker is John Cepany, who is a clinical service lead for complex care in the Southwark Directorate. And apart from talking about that directorate, John is actually going to present on a case study, which is the journey into their career of one of his colleagues. So over to you, John.
Thank you, Jo. So I'm just waiting for the slides to come up. Welcome everybody to this career day. I'm very pleased to come and talk about a staff member who and his journey through his career up to date. He's currently working as a Band 6 nurse, but this just gives an example of his career and some of those transferable skills that he felt were key to help him move up to the stage he is today. So next slide, please. So we're just waiting to move to the next slide. So this gentleman, he's one of our kind of star members of staff at the moment. He's a Black African, currently an RMN and a Christian. He felt it quite important that I share that with you. Next slide, please. And this just gives a kind of timeline of his journey up until today. He's currently working in a supported living team. I mean, not to touch too much on the qualification aspects of this, but just looking at the time when he was doing his course, he was working as a support worker in the home treatment team, and also security guard whilst he was doing that. So this just gives a kind of flavour of some of those transferable skills he used from that role and how he used that to excel to the point he is today. Okay, next slide, please. So please don't worry about the busyness of the slides. I've actually made in bold some of those key transferable skills that he wants to point out. So as a security guard, one of the key things that he felt were really important that helped him into his transition today was things like confidentiality. During his time as a security guard, he was the first point of call with people visiting the court. He said it was quite stressful, racking time, and he felt, had to make patients calm, professional at all times, give them basic information. So confidentiality is a key skill. In terms of how he transferred this into his role as support worker, this skill has been useful in nursing, he said, as I've been patient, compassionate, and empathetic with clients, their families, and care at the same time maintaining confidentiality. We all know how important confidentiality is. Secondly, his observational skills as security guard he felt were key. And again, some of the information is on there, and how he transferred this into his role. The skills being transferred to nursing jobs to detect when people's health seem to be deteriorating. It's useful monitoring things like vital signs and reporting on changes. We will know how important observational skills are in whatever role you are. Next slide, please. The other skill he felt were quite important in terms of his role as a security guard was challenging behaviour. Often had to deal with quite unruly people in the court, and using kind of restraint techniques and what we call as PSTS in terms of keeping people safe and other people safe. And again, this is quite important for him as in his current role. This skill he's used in his profession to support challenging behaviours, and also done other training within the trust. He also used first aid skills as a security guard, which was quite key. And this is no difference from what he's done as a nurse. He feels he's competent now in using those first aid skills. Obviously, he's upped his training since he's been qualified within the trust and working with the trust. And also, he felt it was key as a support worker within the home treatment team. Next slide, please. Again, coordination skills he felt was key. During his day, he had to coordinate the whole process, which involved communication, getting the listings for the court, He's quite involved as security guard in terms of coordinating. Again, using these skills within his role, the skill has brought him to nursing. He's had to communicate with colleagues, coordinate shifts. He's also had to liaise with professional teams such as doctors and so forth, such as related to his role as a security guard. Again, reporting on incidents was key as a security guard. And in nursing, he's had to report on documentation. It's a very essential skill that he uses today, such as reporting on Datex incidents and our kind of patient journey system. Next slide, please. And again, keeping the environment safe as a security guard, again, were key skills that he felt he used as transferable skills within his current role. Again, the same skills required in his current role as nursing, reporting on faulty incidents, do not use signs, make sure all medications are stored properly, and general environmental skills. So these are kind of some of the key skills he felt, again, keeping the environment safe was as important within his role as he transitioned through to his career today. Next slide, please. I think that's the final slide. So yeah, this just gives a quick kind of whistle-stop tour of his journey to date and how he uses his transferable skills. Feel free to ask any questions, and I'll hand you over to Joe.
Thank you very much, John. That was an amazing account of somebody repivoting their career direction. Our next speaker is Chloe Miller, who's going to talk to you about the total reward package offered in SLaM. Over to you, Chloe. Thank you. On mute, Chloe.
Oh, hello, can you hear me? Oh, perfect. No, I was just saying, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this day. It's really good to be involved. Just to quickly introduce myself. So I'm Chloe Miller. I am the Joint Trust Employee Engagement Manager. So looking after South London and Mordsley Trust as part of my remit. And that is just looking at staff engagement and, as Joe has alluded to, the total reward package. So if we can just go on to the next slide, please. Oh, thank you. So I wanted to start off by talking about what is the culture that we aspire to at South London and Mordsley. And really, if we could sum it up in one phrase, it would be a great place to work. We are committed to having a values-led culture. We are keen to recognise your achievements and recognise the achievements of your colleagues, but also we are committed to making sure that your voice is heard when it comes to the important issues. Not only that, but diversity is a big part of our workplace, and we celebrate the fact that we've got such a diverse workforce with many different people from different backgrounds, and we are committed to reducing the inequalities and discrimination that some groups face. So on this slide, I guess there's a lot of words, but if I could sum it up in a few, it would be that we are values led. We value recognition, and that we want your voice to be heard, and that we celebrate diversity. Ultimately, we want you to look forward to coming to work, and as a trust, we are committed to achieving that aim of having a great place to work. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, there is an importance or a focus on equality and diversity within the trust. And some of the things that we have done proudly is that we are members of the Stonewall Diversity Champions Program, and that is for us as a trust to demonstrate our commitment to championing LGBTQ inclusion. Not only that, but we are a disability confident employer, and so we are committed to diversity and inclusion in the workplace when it comes to disability. Furthermore, we also have staff networks. So staff networks is a program that helps us to promote and celebrate the diversity that is within our workforce. Not only that, but it is a mechanism of support for our workforce. And we've got many different staff networks, such as the Black and Minority Ethnic Staff Network, the Diverse Ability Staff Network, the LGBT Staff Network, and also the Lived Experience Network. If you can go on to the next slide, please. So again, recognition of our staff is a really key part of what we do. It helps us to say thank you and to really celebrate the achievements of the great work that we do. And so we have multiple recognition schemes throughout the trust, and we've got SLaM Stars, we've got the annual staff awards, but we also had a special recognition awards for COVID-19, and that was just to really acknowledge the extra work and the extra effort that staff were doing during this pandemic, and really thanking them for that. Not only that, but managers are encouraged to, recognise and celebrate the achievements within the team, and there is a culture of recognition throughout the trust. If we can go into the next slide, please. So I guess there's a bit about our staff benefits, and just talking briefly about what benefits we've got as a trust. And so if I start on with kind of our core benefits, and that's applicable to all NHS trusts, we have generous annual leave entitlements, we have a really good pension scheme and competitive pension scheme, and we also operate the hasty pay scheme, which is actually where you are eligible to receive up to 50% of your pay in advance through a platform, and that is just something that we offer to our staff as a benefit. We also have the car lease scheme and staff car parks. Again, we can find out more about that through SLaM's transport team. And then we also offer things around, season ticket loans and other NHS discounts, such as the blue light card and health service discounts. If I was to think more broadly, not just financial incentives, but also we do have family-friendly benefits such as maternity leave, paternity leave, and parental leave and policies. And we also really promote flexible working and agile working throughout the trust. Finally, we have a big drive around health and well-being, and so we've got lots of things in place to really support you and to support your health and well-being whilst you are working with us. So, for example, we've got an employee assistance program. We also have the Guardian service, which gives confidential support and a mechanism to raise issues anonymously. And there's many other things that we have in place to support staff with their health and well-being. And then I'm sure that you'll hear today about the many different career development opportunities and schemes that we've got within the trust. So the next slide, please. So finally from me, and I'm sure you would have heard this before in the opening speech with Namdi, but we have 5 commitments at the trust, and really that is around being kind and polite and being prompt and valuing your time, taking the time to listen to you, and being honest and direct, and also doing what we say we're going to do. Ultimately, we are committed to creating a great place to work for everybody. We create an open environment where people can share their views and their ideas and get involved in different things to really help shift our culture. And so actually, we really do welcome that, and we do have that open and honest culture where we do hear from different people about how we can continually improve and ultimately make this a great place for everybody who works here, and a place where people get good services when they encounter us. So that's all I had to say today. Thank you for that, and I'm sure my email or something will be circulated if there's any questions or materials people have. So I'll hand back over to Joe.
Thank you very much, Chloe. Our next speaker is Aaron Wise, and Aaron is going to talk to us about his journey and his career within SLaM. So over to you then, Aaron. Thank you.
Yeah, how you all doing? So my name's Aaron. I work in the Estates and Facilities Department. I'm based over at Lewisham. I currently look after 8 staff, and we have a range of buildings from like acute crisis and all kinds of things inside the hospital that we can maintain and stuff. So I just wanted to go ahead to my PowerPoint presentation, if we can, please. So can we go? So this is just a chat about my career at SLaM since joining the Estates and Facilities Department. So obviously a bit of background information. I started at the Trust back in 2011 as a mechanical assistant after working in the commercial sector since leaving school. I came to the Trust with my City and Guilds Plumbing Level 2 qualification. Soon as I got settled within the Trust and working around the hospital, I thought I'd set myself some ambitions. My first ambition was to become an estates officer before I was 30. When I first started the Trust, I was 21 years old, so I thought that was quite a good ambition to set out. I managed to get that at the age of 29, so I was very happy and over the moon with that. So just carrying on through that. When I first joined, the estates team was filled with an older generation of staff. The knowledge was vast and I had an opportunity to learn from them, and it was quite a great insight of learning from older people, because you don't really learn that when you're a young guy. You're learning stuff at college. Just the information you can get from these people can help you through every day-to-day life working in a hospital environment, which was massive for me and my career moving forwards. The next thing that I found was I thought I'd start getting familiar with my job role and thought how I'd progress in my career. I started setting up individual goals out. I noticed that the Trust wanted to not have staff that were just one skilled. They wanted like multi-skilled people. So I thought I would look into the job criteria, think how I can move forward, and I thought, well, maybe I could train to be an electrician. So I found the course that I wanted to go on, put it forward to my managers, and lucky enough I was allowed to get funding, so I progressed to carry out my MVQ level 2 and 3 in electrical studies, which helped me along in my career to become where I am now. Then my next goal was after that was to become a team leader, and lucky enough the job arose back in 2018 where I had the opportunity to become a team leader, and that was I found that personally quite challenging. It was really hard for me to become from like a team player to then manage the people I used to work with. I struggled for a bit because you don't really want to upset them, because you've worked with them for a good 3 or 4 years prior to becoming the team leader. But with the help from the managers above me and getting sent on to like management courses and stuff, I began to grow confidence and just learn how to challenge people and be the manager I am probably today. And that really helped me quite a bit. The next thing I had lined up was to become an estates officer, and to become an estates officer I had to learn my carry out HNC, which is a high national certificate, and this was back in probably 2017 I started that, and that was for 2 years. And by carrying out the plumbing qualifications and the electrical ones, I managed to be the person I am today and get that higher national certificate in building services, which then helped me progress to be an estates officer. So that was my career in obviously education and how I am where I am today. Then obviously how I become an estates officer was due to a restructure. A vacancy arose where I could apply to become the estates officer at Lewisham or Mordsley. So I applied for the one at Lewisham. I was successful, and now I've been here for 2.5 years. Could I have the next slide, please, as well? Oh, is it? All right, it's okay. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, so I've obviously got that. Now I'm currently studying my degree in building services, which is my next objective. Hopefully one day I'll become like an estates manager from learning and studying from my degree. But just like my whole life working with SLaM has been very progressive. I feel without the opportunity, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And I've always been encouraged to better myself with various managers. I find you have to apply yourself appropriately by attending college or university, and just go above and beyond your own job role. Look at other job roles higher up in the hierarchy, see what education you need to progress, learn from other people, and just take every day as it comes. And just for me, I've always said, just don't stay in one job role, see how you can progress, take that next chapter in your life. And if you don't do that, then years will fly by, and you can probably look back in your life and feel like, I haven't really done that much. But just keep going on. And I've always encouraged people to do better and lead by example, and others will follow you. And I've noticed that from what the people I've managed, they've seen the path I took, and they probably think, well, if Aaron's done this, then maybe I could be that person that could move forward in my life and progress in estates and facilities and go further. So that was pretty much my career being in SLaM. I can't thank the trust enough sending me on these college courses and helping me be the person I am today and looking after the team I've got. So yeah, that's me done. Thank you very much for listening. Any questions, please feel free to put them in the column. And over to Joe.
Wow, thank you, Aaron. And I think what really came across there is that a lot of that, your journey is about your approach to work and seizing those opportunities. So Aaron works in estates and facilities, and we're now going to switch to Neil Jackson, who is the Director of Estates and Facilities. Are you ready, Neil? Thank you for stepping in at the last minute as well. Thank you.
That's okay. Thank you, and hi, and well done to Aaron there as well, because I really appreciate that journey. And I've been on a similar journey, perhaps a longer time at my age, but I understand that, and I think grasping every opportunity is really key. My role at the Trust is as a Director of Capital Estates and Facilities, and what that really means in plain English is I'm responsible for the environment everybody else works in, and the environment we care for people in. So if it's a physical thing, it's got something to do with me and my team, and obviously Aaron's a member of that team. We also provide a lot of frontline services, so there's a lot of stuff we do that's working alongside nurses and doctors and very directly with those staff. And I think from a career opportunity point of view, there is the opportunity to work with teams, to be more technical, if you wish to be more technical, or to be a very customer sort of front of house type role. If you like to be with people, talk to people and engage with people, there's that opportunity. And there's equally, if you really want to get into nuts and bolts of how the engineering and physical world works, you can get involved in that as well in estates facilities. So we're got a big challenge in providing a safe, clean, fit for purpose environment for everybody to be in. And there's some real opportunity now and moving forward where we're adopting new technologies, constantly improving what we do. And probably our biggest challenge from the estate's perspective is how we transform not only the estate, but how we run things and how people work to meet the environmental challenge that's coming ahead. And that's going to drive real opportunity for people and new roles and learning and development. As a site, as a mental health trust, you don't necessarily see a big hospital. You see a few bigger buildings, But just to put it in context, our building floor area is about the same size as 22 football pitches, and we have to keep that clean, lit, warm, safe, feed people in it 24/7, 365 days a year. So there's lots of work to do, lots of people involved. And what's really exciting at the moment is we've got a major level of investment that's starting now and will continue for many years in new facilities, and I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. Go to the next slide. So part of that investment, that 140 million, is 2 big buildings on the Mordsley site. First one is Piers Mordsley Centre for Children. This is, as I say, it's a joint venture with other organisations, so we're working with the university. It involves local authorities and other partners, but it really brings together some state-of-the-art facilities and clinical research. So you can have the next slide. The key purpose of this is to bring world-class research into child and young people's mental health to play actually right in the local community. So rather than waiting 15-20 years for ideas to develop, well, half that or quarter that time, that's the plan, by bringing the right people together in an environment that's therapeutic, that supports people, and encourages that collaboration. So again, playing a leading part in that, and ENF gets a major role in developing the site, working with partners, working with the clinicians, nursing staff and other internal staff, and how we create that. So we have a major role to play in transforming the future for the trust. Go to the next slide. So the other big investment on site is Douglas Bennett House, and this replaces really ancient and completely inappropriate poor quality accommodation for inpatient services at our Lambeth site. And again, this is a very significant investment. We've had lots of involvement in how this comes to the fore. We've led on its development, and as I say, it will be unique in the UK. It's really is leading edge in terms of its design and what we're going to do with it. The next slide. So one of the key purposes of that is to go from the poor quality environments we have to create spaces that support therapy, but also sort of open the door a little bit on mental health and help us all come to terms with what that means and engage with it more positively. So we'll go to the next slide again, please. So, it's not just about the inside of buildings and spaces, it's about the external environment. We'll be opening up the campus so there's more of the public able to come into the site in a way that works well for our patients as well. But really, it's a key part of us engaging more openly with the community, and certainly moving forward, improving the local landscape and the local environment. Go to the next slide, please. And it's not all sort of pie in the sky. Douglas Bennett House is under construction. These are photos from last week. So the first floor is in place. So this will be open in 2 years' time. As I say, it's it's here now and creating jobs as we speak, and we'll create more as we go forwards. Go the next slide. So just wanted to touch on a little bit about the roles that we have in the trust. So as I say, we've got a very wide range of roles and career opportunities, and I suppose what I'd like to say is, you can come in, you might start in one role and actually decide it's not for you and look for another opportunity. But it's what's key about what we do is many of the skills you do develop are transferable. Working with teams, understanding how things work, developing particular skills, whether that be across catering, engineering, supporting sustainability, landscape gardening, portering, a whole plethora of services. And next slide. And not just in the buildings, transport, logistics, security, and we have quite a strong administration team supporting everything we do. So as Aaron said, there's a career path that's very clear. You may have a clear idea when you start out, but equally I'd advise just getting a start, because lots of the skills are transferable, and the opportunity to develop them and hone them and bring along your education at the same time is wide, particularly within ENF, because we are one of the services that's probably got the most diverse workforce in terms of the types of roles we have and the backgrounds that people may have, because you can be anything from a project manager, an administrator, security guard, a porter, or a van driver. There's a whole range of roles and backgrounds and opportunities. So next slide. So one of the things in terms of what we're doing that's helping the local economy, and again, this provides job opportunities locally, is by redeveloping the sites that we no longer require as part of our plan. So we're building almost 750 homes, or planning to, for the next few years. And that in itself meets a really significant need. Half of those homes are affordable, so we're exceeding what most developers, in fact I think all other developers would do. And we take that very seriously, that we're intervening, if you like, to help the local economy, but also to give people places to live that are more affordable. The next slide. So I suppose just to wrap up for me, what I'd like to just say is we've got, within ENF there's a lot of jobs, not all available now, but over time they become available. We do have a mature workforce, I would say, so I know that as people retire, there'll be new opportunities coming along. It's key that there's lots of opportunity to develop transferable skills, and these are skills not only about your work but what you do at home. Learning some of these trade skills, absolutely invaluable in your home life, as are the sort of interpersonal skills as well. You get to contribute directly to healthcare, so it's not just people hidden in boxes in the background. You do actually get to be out there and work with the frontline services we provide, and many of our teams are working alongside nurses and doctors on a daily basis. And perhaps the biggest medium-term challenge and the exciting thing about our area is that we're one of the key things we have to deliver is the creation of the sustainable environment we're all going to live in the future. So reducing carbon, creating environments that are healthy, improving the public space, and just making life easier and less, making sure that pollution and the environment doesn't damage health and well-being. So you say we've got a major part to play in that, and I'd obviously encourage people to join us in that journey. Thank you, Joe.
Hello again, everyone. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I thought there was a bit of an echo there. I apologise. So we've had a great range of speakers, ending there with Neil. Thank you again, Neil, for stepping in at the last minute. We're now approaching, we thought we'd give everybody a bit of a screen comfort break and come back at 12:20 when we have Tabitha Lewis talking about apprenticeships within SLaM. However, we do have a bit of time to sort of mop up on the Q&As. Danielle Perman and I have been doing our best to kind of keep an eye on themes that are coming out on the chat. Main sort of questions that I'm seeing coming out are around, having the email addresses for some of the speakers, which is great. Where those have been asked for, our speakers have been happy for us to share their email addresses. So thank you very much to everybody who's agreed to that, and everybody that's on the day who wants to hear more about those presentations. We've also had a few inquiries about HCA, healthcare assistant placements, and how do people get those placements? So we will be saying more about that towards the end of the presentations. Most of our healthcare assistant and healthcare support worker and peer support worker roles tend to be advertised in drives where the demand kind of fluctuates a bit, but we also do rely pretty strongly for those roles and administrative roles through NHS Professionals, which is one of our partners we work very closely with. I've put their email for SLaM into the chat. I can put it in again if anybody isn't able to scroll up and find that, and we will also be referring to it again towards the end as we kind of come close to closing the day. I've had a few other queries from people in the chat regarding clinical roles. So always pleased to hear about people that have clinical qualifications as well. Today, really, the focus is on the non-clinical roles that enable the clinical roles, if you like, behind the scenes. So I can pick those off individually, and I'm trying to do that. But what I would suggest overall is to visit our website, which is slam.nhs.uk. And quite easy to navigate, actually. Really good website to find vacancies and contact details of other people that you might want to get in touch with to find out more about careers. I think the theme that we've seen coming out is that there are routes into SLaM. There are the vacancies which are on the website, and we'll be touching on those again towards the end of the presentation, but it's also about opportunities to kind of find a way into SLaM, and that's where the career kind of really blossoms, I guess, is some of the theme that you've heard today. Danielle and Lamade, have you noticed any other specific questions that have come out of the chat that we might be able to address, or I might be able to throw over to anybody else? I see Aaron's presentation and Adam's presentations were pretty popular. So I don't know if anybody had a specific question they wanted to pose to Aaron. Wow.
As we're asking for people to just continue commenting and asking us questions, I'd just like to call out Emlyn in the chat, who said, "Thank you so much for doing this. This is an amazing idea. Very much appreciated." So Emlyn, absolutely, that's what today is all about. It's us sharing a bit more about what it's like working for SLaM, and to mention that this will be the first of many. It's not just that we're doing this as a one-off. We hope to be engaging more regularly. Joe, I don't know if I've said I'm starting ourselves.
Yeah. So I've been trying to go through different chats, so I hadn't picked that up, but that is wonderful. Thank you so much. We sort of, and thanks for reminding me, Danielle, we did say at the beginning, this is the first time we've done this sort of event, so we're really grateful for any feedback that you want to pop into the chat as well. That's most welcome. Well, I think then that we will have our screen break now. We'll see you back in just over 10 minutes at 12:20, and we'll try and come back a little bit earlier just in case there are any other new questions that go into the chat in the meantime, and hope that most of you are going to be able to stay on and listen to the forthcoming presentations. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi everybody, welcome back. Hope you've managed to get yourself a hot drink or something in the break. We have been checking through the messages in the chat. Please keep those coming, and also again, just to encourage any feedback for us, we'd be really grateful for that as well. The themes are coming through very similar to what I was talking about before the break, regarding, where do we see the vacancies, email addresses for some of the presenters, and also inquiries about clinical roles and the entry-level roles around healthcare assistants, etc., etc. So we will be touching upon those towards the end, closer to 1:30, in terms of email address for NHS professionals, vacancies that we have currently on the website as well, and also roles that NHS professionals are currently trying to get people into for long-term placements into SLaM as well on a temporary basis. So I think without further ado, I will pass you on to our next speaker, who is Tabitha Lewis, who's going to talk about apprenticeships within SLaM. Very topical, as this is also Apprenticeship Week. Are you ready, Tabitha? Over to you. Okay, thank you. Mute.
I made the the well-known mistake of being on mute, so apologies for that. So hello, my name's Tabitha Lewis. I'm Head of Education and Workforce Development here at SLaM, and I would like to talk to you, as Joe has said, about apprenticeships and about the opportunity for apprenticeships for staff working within SLaM. So Lamadi, could you put that on full screen, the presentation? No, if you press the lectern button next to at the bottom of the screen, that's it. Lovely. Just because there's a lot of text on some of the slides, it might be tricky for people to read otherwise. So yeah, so as Joe has said, this is National Apprenticeship Week, so it was incredibly apt that I was asked to come along and talk to you about apprenticeships, because I've been doing lots of that all week. So let me tell you a little bit more. If I could have the next slide. So just start off with just explaining a bit about what apprenticeships are, for those of you who aren't familiar with them. So apprenticeships are nationally designed work-based learning and training, and they're aligned to roles. And they're available at all academic levels, and they hold the same equivalence as any other university course or college course that you might do. And they're available to everyone, no matter what age you are. You're never too old to do an apprenticeship. I know sometimes we have associations that apprenticeships are something that young people do. And there are some eligibility criteria in terms of functional skills, but they're nothing that we can't help you with to gain while you're in employment with SLaM. And the whole point of apprenticeships is about developing new skills. The idea being, so you've got an apprenticeship standard that's aligned to the particular role you're in, and where there may be skills that you'd still need to develop. An apprenticeship may well be the route for you to help develop those skills. And how that is done is through the learning that is through this protected and compulsory off-the-job hour, which is affectionately referred to as OTJ in the apprenticeship world. And what that equates to is a protected 20% or a minimum of 20% that has to take place during your normal working hours. So this can be quite different to traditional education, in that sometimes people may have engaged in education where they would have maybe done some on their own time. It may have taken longer, but this is 20% that is protected within your working hours. And the apprenticeship is developed and delivered in partnership between the employer ourselves and the education provider. So it's a tripartite arrangement. It's between you, the education provider, and us as your employer. And in fact, I've just come from a long webinar with a lot of our providers where we were inviting them to come and talk to our staff about how they support their apprentices. And I also was explaining how we procure them. So we go through very rigid procurement processes and monitoring our contracts with our providers to make sure that we're getting the best providers for you. And also ensuring that the programs they offer are tailored to our needs. So this is how we get these phrases that we get to grow our own. So we would be influencing the learning that you engage with because of the role that you're in, and you get to earn while you learn. So dare I say, it's a no-win. So if I could have the next slide, please. Currently, we have 126 apprentices within the trust, all across these. I'm not going to read them out because we'll be here a long time, but you'll see they're huge and varied. And although we have a large bulk of them within the clinical roles, actually there's an awful lot more sort of beyond those clinical roles. And if we go to the next slide, this is just what we're in procuring currently. This is by no means sort of an endless list, because we're constantly procuring different apprenticeships as we see the need and people sort of draw our attention to them. We will procure them. So these are the ones that we're actually in the middle of procuring at the moment. You'll notice that I put ... after finance and estates, and that's because there are actually so many apprenticeships. I would have had a very, very cluttered slide. So there are lots and lots of opportunities to complete apprenticeships. So if we move to the next slide, just to show as well how apprenticeships work for you and work for us. Apprenticeships are a really good way of offering career pathways and career routes for people. And this is just an example. It's just, you know, it's not the only way. So it's sort of suggesting that there are entry routes, that you could come in as a level 2 administrator on an apprenticeship, or if you're a receptionist, you could do the customer services apprenticeship, or you could come in, if you were going down the clinical route, you could potentially do the healthcare support worker level 2 apprenticeship. And as you see, there are progression routes for each of those. And we have some experience with apprenticeships because we have been a provider of the apprenticeships as well. And if we move to the next slide, you'll see a wonderful, hopefully, there we go, you can see the lovely picture of some of our apprenticeship graduates. These are from our healthcare support worker program, level 2 healthcare support worker program. And you'll see there some feedback that some of the people that have been on the program and what they've said, and how they've not only found it enjoyable, but how they particularly found it useful in their role. And I think that's particularly key with apprenticeships. It's about the integration of learning with your job. And that's it. I don't know whether we're taking questions now, Joe. I was deliberately trying to keep it as brief as possible because I know we were trying to run to time.
I haven't specifically seen any recent questions, Tabitha, but one of the questions that I do recall was there in the chat from early on was around age. Yes. How young could we take somebody on an, you know, into SLaM and put them on an apprenticeship? Could we go as young as 16?
That is, do you know, that's a really good question. I usually have the opposite question, which is, are you too old? And there's definitely no upper age limit. I believe you need to be 18, but I'd actually have to go and double check that with the funding rules. I believe the idea is that you would have already completed your education. The reason being is there are other opportunities such as T-levels which are coming in, which T-levels are a route into apprenticeships. So it might be more likely that if you're a younger person that you would be wanting to complete a T-level with a local college. And what a T-level is a well, not a replacement, it's an alternative to A-levels and BTECs, where I've forgotten the hours off the top of my head, but you spend a lot of time in the classroom, but you also will do work placements. And they are very new. And I'm in negotiations with people in various departments about possibly being able to offer those placements. So we would partner with a local college. And then the idea being is we hope to grow our apprentices from the T-levels. So if you did a T-level in health and social care, there are T-levels in digital, which I know that are already available. But I know, again, it's one of those things, if you Google T-levels, you'll find out all about it and find out whether your local college are offering them. They're releasing them slowly, and I believe, as I say, digital I know is one of the first ones that were out. I know that health and social care will be available from September onwards.
Thank you, Tabitha. I know you're really passionate about apprenticeships, and that's been a great presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I guess if we, after the end of today, we'll probably leave the chat open for a little bit. If anybody does want to put any more questions in, we can always get back to them if you've managed to find any other answers around age, perhaps. Yeah, thank you. All right. Okay, so thank you again, Tabitha. Our next speaker is Jillian Ashford, and Jillian is going to talk to us about her route into a career at SLaM as an ex-service user. So I'll just hope that we're switching to Jillian's presentation any moment. Or yes. No.
Is it there?
Yeah, you're on.
I'm on. Okay. Welcome everybody. Lovely to see you all. My name's Jillian Ashford and I use South London and the Mordsley services from 2000 to 2008. I'm just going to share with you the things that the Trust has to offer for service users and carers with lived experience and how valuable it has been for me in my recovery and many more people like myself. Thank you for changing this slide. I was signposted to the involvement register in 2008 and it was a breath of fresh air as I had lost a lot of my skills after a period of unemployment and caring for my family. The involvement register is a way for people who have used South London and the Mordsley services and their carers to help plan and make improvements to the Trust services. For myself, becoming involved in this way made me feel I might make a difference to someone else's life. My lived experience was being recognised as a valuable contribution and respected. The most enjoyable part of working with the Involvement Register is the ability to choose yourself what you might like to become involved with and the variety of work. For example, one day I'd be organising and running a focus group on the wards, and the next I'd be sitting on an interview panel to employ staff. The Involvement Register does its best to match you with the opportunities available, and in some instances coaching and training for other types of opportunities. Therefore, it's a suitable place to start. You'll need a reference, go through the normal channels like any other paid employee, and provide a DBS check. It's paid employment. Don't let that put you off if you're in receipt of benefits. The DWP classes this as permitted work, and we luckily have a benefits advisor in the trust who will help you with any query. At that time in 2008, I joined the trust choir, and there I had the opportunity to meet a member of staff, Miss Sheila Woodward, who became my mentor for many years and has become an exceptionally good friend. I started to work with her team, the Corporate Clinical Audit team, as a volunteer, initially shredding confidential waste for 4 hours a week. This led on to other opportunities where I headed on small projects, supporting service user consultants for many years. I enjoyed being part of the team. I was finally doing something worthwhile in my life, and I was gaining transferable skills. I could see a light at the end of the tunnel. Job opportunities were on the horizon, with lived experience being essential criteria. There was a possibility for me to get a job. I made a plan that I would grasp all the opportunities I could and forged forward. I joined up to the service user involvement in training and education and started teaching our fresh staff at corporate induction. They valued the service user perspective, saying it was the best part of the day. And I was now gaining teaching skills without realising that this would be instrumental in me getting my current position at the Recovery College. Things were moving fast. I was working with many influential people in SLaM and some at the Institute of Psychiatry. I had gained a lot of skills without realising. I was doing peer support with my team on the wards. I volunteered with the British Transport Police in Waterloo Station. I gave out patient information in significant days of the year for World Mental Health Day, Blue Monday and Mental Health Awareness Week. There it was, my opportunity to get a job as a peer recovery trainer for the Recovery College. I applied and I got the heads up from John Cepany about the interview coming up, and I applied and got the role. I love the variety of my role. No 2 days are the same, and I was instrumental in setting up recovery colleges with my manager Mark Dogano at the forensic services at Riverhouse and Oxley's. South London and the Mordsley welcomes employees with lived experience. They see it as a two-way street. They have something to give back to our community, the opportunity to share their experiences. The Trust has their own lived experience network, which was launched in 2018, saying, and I quote, "We look forward to connecting to destigmatise and celebrate lived experience in the professions, to challenging old ideas such as them and us." The Trust Equality Opportunity Policy welcomes applicants from the LGBT communities. They have recently set up a working group to support Black and ethnic minority staff. As you can see from the slide opposite, if you could just change the slide, thank you very much. You can get involved in as much as you like, either it be the Involvement Register, peer support, volunteering, and becoming an advocate. And once you've signed up, you can benefit from what the recovery courses has to offer. What more can I say? The opportunities are endless. I feel privileged to have to get the opportunity to give something back. So I think we're going over back to Joe now, and then it's Jacqueline Ward.
Yes, I was just wondering whether we could keep some of those email addresses up a little bit longer, actually, Jillian. That was a really great example of just, you know, how we can pull on real lived experience as well, and all the different routes again that there are from that lived experience to be of value to actually giving back and working within SLaM from the other side, as you say. We'll see if we can get some of those email addresses actually into the chat. We'll work on that behind the scenes. And our next speaker is Jacqueline Ward, who's a senior business administrator, and Jacqueline's going to speak to you about the backbone of administration supporting the other services. Thank you.
Thank you, Jo. Good afternoon, everyone. As Jo's just said, my name is Jackie Ward. Sorry, as I said, I've worked for SLaM for 19 years within the Nursing and Quality Directorate. And we support the senior nurses who don't work clinically, they work strategically, implementing any changes either through legislation or new practice. I'm really sorry because I now can't read my notes doing the slideshow, so I've completely lost what I was saying there. The rest of it is on my slides, so I'll be able to follow that up. So I do manage a small team of administrators, and we provide cover on a daily basis to all those senior nurses. And we are learning from each other because we provide cover, so our knowledge is always growing. There's always something new that we learn from each other. So what makes a good administrator? There are a lot of personal skills that make up a good administrator, and they're all very much valued. But being proactive, a problem solver, and with the ability to communicate have to be three of the most important ones, and the ones that I'll focus on today. So a good administrator will give a team the confidence to trust in their abilities, so much so that whoever you support is able to give you any number of tasks, knowing that you will get on and do, following them up, finding an alternative source for the information if needs be, and along the way showing an interest in picking up information and forging relationships with other staff that can help you in your role in the future, and being able to work on a number of different pieces of work at the same time, often to tight deadlines, with the team knowing that you will get it to them. During the pandemic, we've all worked together to ensure that we can provide the best service to our patients and support each other in these difficult times. Working remotely away from the office, we've had to be mindful not to become isolated, to keep our team together. Our communication has had to be clear and strong. We have regular meetings via Teams to keep each other up to date on what we're doing, any problems we have, and we discuss how they can be resolved. It may be that we offer to share the workload. It may be that we talk through the issue and find the solution together. But whatever it is, good communication is vital. An example of the impact the pandemic has had on the teams we support would be the additional work our infection control and prevention team have had. They are at the forefront of supporting staff on the wards and in the community who are caring for patients, ensuring the teams have the latest information from the government on preventative processes, setting up our internal interventions and providing guidance and equipment to help keep staff and patients safe. During this time, the team have also formed part of a wider group who have planned and implemented the COVID-19 vaccination programme. To help with this, we appointed an administrator through NHSP, which Jo mentioned earlier, to support the programme with managing the time-sensitive data submissions and running the clinics. They hadn't worked in an administrative role before, but for a well-known airline provider. However, they were able to demonstrate transferable skills, their awareness of customer focus, the ability to communicate and listen, and the ability to learn quickly and adapt to new situations and requests. They've been a wonderful team player, supporting and encouraging those who may have been reluctant or frightened to have the vaccination with humour and sensitivity. And their tenacity in adapting in difficult circumstances has led to the team giving them additional tasks, as the confidence that they would be managed and completed was so high. Our team cover a whole range of services. As I mentioned before, we support the infection prevention and control, but we also support safeguarding, physical health, complaints, patient safety, restrictive practices, and DATIX, which is our electronic system where we record all our incidents, complaints, and our compliments. Our work happens in the background, but that doesn't mean it isn't important or doesn't play a pivotal role in the services we provide. There are many different teams across SLaM, whether they're in the community, on an inpatient ward, in education, human resources, finance, or like me in the Nursing and Quality Directorate. But in all of these areas, working as part of a team, learning about what they do and how your role impacts on how services are provided to help support people who are unwell is one of the most satisfying things of working here at SLaM. Administrators are, after all, one of the greatest supports a team could have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. I don't know what happened to the screen there. It may have actually been something that I did. I'm really not sure. So if it was, I apologise. But what I want to say is that was an amazing demonstration of a really strong piece of admin, and that your words came across really clearly, and that the message was definitely heard. So thank you very much for showing a great example of resilience in that presentation.
Thank you.
And I apologise if it was anything that I did technically. I'm really sorry. Our next speaker is Guy Foxen. Who's going to talk about his work placement in the communications team. Are you ready, Guy?
Yep. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to start off by saying a massive thank you to Joe and Lamade for setting up this event, and thank you for spending your time to attend this event, hearing about the great opportunities that are happening at SLaM and some of the great work placements that are out there. I don't have a presentation for you today, but as this will be my personal story, I thought it might be quite nice for me to be visible the whole time, and it might be a story you might be able to relate to, and it might be good to have some advice from. Before I joined, I've been working for the NHS for 2 years now, and I've been a part of a graduate scheme that have been applied to the communications team across South West London and South London and Mordsley. And I originally, at university, I done a media degree. I studied film. It was much more of a sort of creative pathway I wanted to go down. But after leaving university, I had a sort of, I worked in the events industry. I also done bits for TV and film, but it was much, I was on 0-hour contracts. Work was a bit flimsy. I would work for weeks on end and then go for weeks without work. And then I came across the graduate scheme to join the comms department, which I must admit I didn't consider communications a career pathway when I left university, but seeing this graduate scheme I thought would be a good place to put my foot in and see if I could improve the life at SLaM. SLaM's managed to give me a secure job with a lovely 9-to-5 routine, which has helped me as a graduate and an ex-student. I think this is quite a good pathway from Jacqueline's administration presentation, because as my job as a admin job on paper, it very much doesn't feel like one. I work I work from home, but I'm very much on my feet a lot of the time. I go into the hospital and make sure the hospital's filled with posters and got the right events for all the staff to see. I've been able to transfer some of my skills from my degree and implement it into this job, which has been great. I do a lot of work in social media. So SLaM has a massive social media following with, I think, nearly 20,000 Twitter followers. We have loads of verified people following us. We have a great Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. They're all very popular and something that we work on every day to improve, where I'm either getting a lot of content from other people, or I'm working with the graphic designer and creating our own content for the social media platforms. So even though this is a corporate, it's a corporate job, it's I very much love the creative side to it, which I'm allowed to sort of be. Following on from that, there has, I can understand the difficulties of job searching during a pandemic, and so some of the anxieties that can come with that. You might apply for something that you might not have very much experience in, but I can guarantee that with some of the transferable skills that people have talked about earlier, you would be very much considered for roles that you might have not considered before in the past. One thing that helped me loads in getting my job into this scheme was through the collaboration that I had done during my university projects, setting up films. I loved group work. I very much work better with and around people, and that very much helped me when applying for this job. Because one thing about SLaM is you will meet a lot of people. You'll be constantly emailing people. Face-to-face contact is extremely necessary. How you interact with people is very important. And I was able to shed a light on my university work, my past work, working in events and retail, and I really brought that into the corporate setting, which I went from having not homing in my creativeness, if you would, and I've managed to sort of screw a corporate brain on, and it is I think it's massively prepped me for the future, to be honest. And I think so that would be my one piece of advice, would be find something that you like doing and bring it to your job application, put it on your CV, and I'm sure people will home to it and like it. I'm happily hand out my email address. I would love to speak to anyone who would like any advice, any more bits I can share. I would even happily read over any cover letters and hand over some advice if that's what you would like when applying for SLaM. I know my way around NHS jobs really well. Also part of all the social media, so I can lend a helping hand for any of the attendees that would like it. But thank you.
Again, thank you, Guy. It's really great to hear about people's real personal journeys and career development. That was really good. Thank you. And obviously, what's emerging as a bit of a theme is that our presenters are very happy to have their details shared. And I think what we are going to do is we will email out everyone that's registered on the event with contact details. I had Tabitha Lewis just came back to say that with regards to the query about apprenticeships, 16 is the youngest, so hope that's of help. Our next presenter is Ricky Mckennan, who's our Chief Information Officer, who's going to be presenting some video clips from digital services. This one's going to be a little bit longer than the other presentations, probably closer to 20 minutes. So are you ready, Ricky? He's nodding. All right, over we go then. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you to Joe, Lamedy and all presenting and supporting today. I'd like to give a warm welcome to all attendees. My role is, as Joe's alluded to, is the Chief Information Officer for the Trust and the Senior Information Risk Owner. My name is Ricky Mckennan. I can't see any slides up, Joe. I don't know if they're going to be put up. So while we do that, I'll give you a brief intro to the service. Digital services are committed to providing digitised IT and services. With cross-functional digital services teams, our approach is to continually review, optimising by automating repeatable, frequently used systems and processes. Our aspiration is to be seen as a good place to work, supporting and enabling clinicians and support functions and services to enable enhanced experience and outcomes for our patients. We have moved away from conventional IT to enhanced digitisation and user digital competency. Next slide, please. We were recognised for our digital, and I've got it as my background, for our digital maturity as a National Health Service Global Digital Exemplar, and more recently by Trust being awarded the Functional COVID-19 Special Recognitions Award for 2020. Next slide, please. Digital services functions amount to 8. Services include data protection and compliance, service reviews, service management have service reviews, performance and contracting and administration. We have a technical team. We have a systems development and support team, a data extraction team, digital services informatics, that do data extraction, modelling, programming and querying. We have a program and project management office. We have a clinical research function, and we have a innovation and development, looks at research, development and implementing emerging technology. As I continue to talk, I request the facilitator scrolls through the next slides, please. Our structure has career progression and career path. The following slides show bandings from entry-level roles for bands 3s to 4s and progression grades or bands from 5 to 8. Entry-level salaries are from 19,737 to 24,157, with progression salaries from 24,907 to 62,001. Digital services headcount, number of staff is in excess of 100 individuals. As with the population we serve, our workforce, as I'm sure you will see, is diverse. In line with the Trust and services need, digital services support and operate equal opportunities for all. With this background information of digital services and not wishing to bore you with multiple PowerPoint slides, I hand over to real people, albeit virtually, via video, to share their experience. Can we play the video, please?
Hi, my name is Dennis Murray. No, that's wrong. Stop. Start again.
Let's just start again.
Hi, my name is Dennis Murray.
I was going 1, 2, 3. Okay. Whew. Okay. Go.
Hi, my name is Dennis Murray,
Hi, my name is Sakshi Gupta.
and we both started our journeys at SLaM through a digital data and technology graduate scheme with the Health Innovation Network.
And we both work as digital project analysts within the digital PMO at SLaM. So Dennis, would you like to tell everyone about your background and what your role is in the digital PMO?
Yeah, so I have previously worked in healthcare in a clinical capacity, and I then completed a master's in information systems and applied for the graduate scheme through the Health Innovation Network, and then got my job at SLaM through that. And since then, I have worked on a number of different digital projects at SLaM. So the main one was e-observations. So I worked as the project manager on that. I had initially started as a support, support analyst with the project manager. And I now work on Beth, which is the personalised health record for patients and carers at SLaM. And we are working on phase development of that project. So I also support the PMO in that I work with other project and program managers to help on documentation and budgets and costs, and make sure that we get that benefit realisation from the projects, from digital projects across the trust. Sakshi, would you like to tell me a little bit about your background?
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. So my past experience is in data analysis, and I had a brief experience working in the NHS as part of my undergraduate dissertation. I joined SLaM in November 2019 through the graduate scheme, and my role has been in the digital PMO has been in conducting benefit analysis for our global digital exemplar projects. And I'm also supporting the PMO in improving the quality of our project documentations by ensuring that they're consistent and automated where possible. I'm also supporting the implementation of the electronic prescribing and medication administration program. And I have also in the past delivered and implemented a prescription tracking system in the 3 pharmacies of the trust. I'm also supporting the wider digital services team for efficient resource management. Dennis, would you like to talk about our apprenticeship program?
Yeah, so we both are currently undertaking a level 4 apprenticeship improvement practitioner with a external training company to SLaM. So that involves us working on a project within SLaM, but using the documentation and the data from that to learn and improve on projects and how we can better deliver benefits for staff, users. So we're both over a year into that at the moment, and also we get a qualification from that as well, which is in project management, and that's from the APM, and yeah, that's purely funded by the NHS as well, through SLaM. Sakshi, would you like to explain a little bit about the CPD sessions we attend?
Yeah, through the graduate scheme, we've also been attending continuous professional development workshops, which teach us many skills such as effective communication, negotiation, influencing. And through this, we're also going to get a qualification, a certificate actually, by the Institute of Leadership and Management. So thank you everyone for listening.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Sabir Mohammed. I am a trainee data analyst for the digital informatics team here at SLaM. So during my time with SLaM, or the past 4 or 5 months, I've learned so much, in particular how to use Power BI, which is a data visualization tool. So you can basically use it to create helpful visuals and give insights about organizations' data. So like you can look at organizations, so for example in SLaM you can look at how many people of certain ethnic groups are currently in SLaM at the moment, or a percentage of individuals working for SLaM that have received like flu vaccine and so on. So yeah, so then that's what I currently do. In the past couple of months, I've learned so much. I had so much support from everyone that I've worked with. If I ever have a question or I don't understand anything, I've always been able to ask someone, and at the same time, been able to ask them about their experiences and ask them about everything that they know in terms of Power BI and so on. So obviously this year is completely different. So we're in hard times. Things are not as they usually are. So we're not in an office, but I've been fortunate to sort of receive equipment so that I can work comfortably from home. I've been able to ask any of my colleagues for help. Every time I've needed anything or support, I've always received it, so that this time where things are difficult for many individuals, I've been fortunate enough that it's sort of been easy. I've received so much support from all the individuals that I've been working with, and I look forward to everything that's going to come my way in the upcoming months. And yeah, thank you.
My name's Toyin Kazim, and I've been working in SLaM for over 20 years, and I've been very fortunate in my career development. I initially started as a service desk analyst, and then I moved on to become a supervisor of the service desk. In that time, opportunity arose for me where I had to shadow engineers, going out to support end users and even further. And a few years later after that, another opportunity arose for me in the information governance team, where I took on an ICT auditor role. And that role really helped me in developing my skills in managing patient data. And that time I've been working in that department for over now, and I'm now the IG operations lead. But in that time, I moved from about 4 different roles: the IG assurance officer, the IG assurance and archives manager. And it was really an interesting process, and because in each of those roles, I learned different skills, all encompassed within IG. Obviously, in the recent times of COVID, we've had to now become more responsive in the way we manage our requirements and our service user requirements as well, making sure that we're virtual by default, making sure that we're handling and sharing their data safely and securely, and obviously making sure that all the governance around it is really robust. And of course, on top of this, I am also a mum. So I'm also juggling that with working remotely and also trying to support them as well during this difficult time. And I would like to say that I'm really fortunate to be working in SLaM, as other people don't have that opportunity. They are out of a job, or they're looking for a job. And obviously SLaM is really understanding, and they understand the pressures that everyone's going through at this difficult time. And what I'm really looking forward to when the pandemic sort of is eased off and everything sort of pans out is human contact. I really miss that. Talking to people virtually is good, but then it's not the same thing as seeing someone face to face and having a nice cup of tea and a biscuit. And also I'm looking forward to a holiday sipping non-alcoholic mojitos. Thank you.
Hello there, my name is Darren Richardson. I joined SLaM over 4 years ago and started as a network engineer and then moved into a more senior role as a senior engineer. Our team are responsible for the day-to-day management of the network and security throughout SLaM. During last year, COVID-19 has meant that we have had to react very quickly to system and network changes. We were managing a network capacity supporting 200 users prior to COVID, to then moving to over 1,800 per day, which has caused strain on critical network infrastructure. Therefore, we have had to load balance and spread the load using alternative methods. Working for SLaM has enabled me to get certified in Cisco certification, which SLaM have paid for. I look forward to seeing what the next few months bring us, and I'm ready for the new challenges it may bring.
Hi, my name is Pereira, Solution Architect, work for SLaM Digital Service Innovation and Solution Architecture team. So I joined SLaM over a year ago. So Solution Architect, we are a small team of solution architects who work hard to help SLaM to improve efficiency through digital innovation and most importantly, helping digital services by implementing governance around design, development, and delivery of digital services. What does that mean? So if I take the best analogy I can think about is the building a house. So if you want to build a house, during your planning, so the important thing is for you to get an architect to design. That will give you an opportunity to reduce any risk or mitigate them if there is any risk, and also find out any cost saving and the most efficient way to build it. So you come up with your list of requirements to the architect who assess that and then advise you and then help you throughout to get the best the house you want. So same applies in my job within the SLaM as an architect to help organization to deliver services, plan in advance based on your requirements, and then deliver better product.
Hi, my name's Emma Lane and I'm Deputy Head of Service Management, working within the Digital Services team at SLaM. I joined the Trust from the private sector in 2016 as Service Desk Supervisor. At the time, the Trust's digital transformation journey was beginning to gather pace and I was looking to progress my career in IT and management. It seemed like the ideal opportunity. So shortly after joining, I was promoted to Service Delivery Manager and oversaw the Service Desk being awarded Team of the Year in a complete turnaround in performance. I subsequently moved to my current role in the newly formed Service Management team. We're responsible for service excellence and the overall continuous service improvement approach of the Digital Services team. At SLaM, staff are consistently given the opportunity to develop skills and obtain qualifications through various coaching opportunities. It certainly enabled me to progress through the ranks. I obtained a formal ITIL qualification and valuable skills via the Trust Learning to Lead course. Recently, I've been accepted onto the apprenticeship scheme and I'm now studying towards a master's degree in business management. This is an amazing opportunity for me to be able to refine my skill set as well as adding value to an organisation that I believe truly values their staff. So that obviously the COVID-19 pandemic presented an incredible challenge to the digital services team in particular. We were already well advanced along the digital transformation roadmap, having embedded Microsoft Office 365 and Teams, for example, several years prior to the pandemic. So this meant that the Trust was able to quickly react and mobilise to a remote first work strategy for much of its staff. It also enabled us to provide continuity of care via virtual clinics for our service users. Behind the scenes, we had to accomplish 3 years of carefully planned transformations within the space of 3 months, which was quite the challenge. Proudly we managed it, and this was acknowledged by the Trust as we Digital Services won Team of the Year again. On a personal level, I've had to learn advanced plate spinning skills in order to keep up with this workload, alongside homeschooling my children and being the sole carer of an elderly relative with dementia. It's been quite a challenge at times, but I've felt hugely supported throughout, and that is from the executive team to my peers and colleagues. Everybody is hugely understanding, and that we all have a great rapport and work really well with one another. Staff wellbeing is definitely at the top of the agenda for SLaM. It's a really great place to work.
Okay, hi Richie, thank you so much for taking the time today. As you know, my name is Damien. I'm a nurse here that works in the clinical systems team. But would you like to tell our viewers here at the Digital Services a little bit about you?
Yeah, hi. Hello, everyone. My name's Richie Morton. I'm a service user and carer lead in the Quality Centre. What that means is that I find and work with service users and carers, getting them involved in quality improvement projects and pathway developments with the CAGs.
And a great job you do too. So Richie, I know we always turn to you for advice on Beth and getting service user and carer experience on Beth. Can you tell us why you like Beth so much?
I like Beth. One of the reasons I like Beth is that it's an online app, so that unlike your phone, if you lose it, you don't lose your app and your information. You can always access it from any terminal or from anywhere you are. I like it because it brings everything into one place. I haven't got to carry a ton of letters around. Personally, this is what I'm hearing back from service users. They haven't got to carry a ton of letters around. They've got a means of communicating with their care team. And I've got a particular interest in dialogue, which is one of our patient reported outcome measures that can flow back and forth between EPJ and Beth, and so someone can fill it in their own time. The clinician can see it before they come to the appointment, and therefore the appointment is spent discussing the content as opposed to ruffling around with bits of paper, saying, can you fill this out, take 5-10 minutes to do that, and eats into the time, the crucial limited and precious time that clinicians have. So that's one of the reasons I like it, and I see a lot of potential with it. I see the ability for so if people get used to their care on apps, then they might access other apps that support their own care. So I think it's also a good training ground for stuff like that.
And finally, have you got a message for all the people in digital services who work behind the scenes to make projects like Beth come to life?
I guess it's sometimes you don't always see the fruits of your labour, of all the stuff that you've been doing and the impact on real humans' lives. I'm not saying you're not real humans, digital people, although I've never met one in person. But generally, it's kind of all that hard work is starting to bear fruit, as in people are starting to use what you've been designing and creating. And I would say don't stop there. Don't. Yeah, that's what I would like to say to you, digital people.
I think on that note, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Richie. Really do appreciate it.
Anytime.
I haven't seen any questions coming out of the chat. I think some people saw that video and some didn't. I'm not technical, but it might have been to do with bandwidth. I'm not sure. But I know some of the presenters couldn't see it. It kept freezing. So we will, like you said, Ricky, we can look at making that recording available to people that have registered on the event. But I want to say I was one of the people that it froze for. I couldn't see it all, but I switched into listening mode as if I was listening to a radio, and it was just lovely to hear the texture of the voices. A really great piece of work, I thought. I really enjoyed the melee of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next presenter was supposed to be June Judd. June is a ward manager for the mother and baby unit. Unfortunately, June became unwell today, so she has had to go home. However, she has asked if her presentation could still be shown. So if it's okay, Lamade, I'll ask you to put the presentation up, and I'll just very quickly walk through it. It won't be as long as what June would have presented on, but I kind of know what June's trying to get across, so I can quickly talk through her slides if we're happy to do that. Wow, they look amazing. Okay, so June's presentation is on soft skills, and to say June is ward manager in the mother and baby unit, and I've worked a little bit with June very recently with regards to putting together interview questions, because June will say to me, you know, the qualifications are one thing, but we really look for extra in our staff, and the soft skills that they bring, their personal qualities, are so important. So although, you know, the mother and baby unit would have more clinical roles, they do have nursery worker entry roles from time to time. But I think June's presentation is actually one that could apply to every area of SLaM. So if we could move to the next slide, some of the qualities that very important to June, you know, with all her experience of interviewing staff and the things that work well in the mother and baby unit, are to see resilience in people, for people to be good team players and to really want to kind of give their best, to be a sort of more than they are, if you like. Compassionate, absolutely, of course, and that sits completely within the 5C SLaM values. Able to advocate for people less able to juggle priorities, to challenge as appropriate, you know, when things need improvement or they're not quite working for our service users. And of course, to be passionate about what they're here to do, to want to solve problems, and that can sort of bring in a lot of different threads with interacting with others, to use their own initiative, and to be able to also maintain the boundaries, the professional boundaries with service users, and also within their own remit, and know when to sort of refer to other colleagues and to escalate matters, and to be emotionally intelligent. What we mean by that is pretty much to be able to empathise with colleagues, with yourself as well, and as well as the service users. So these are qualities that June felt are very important, and she started to use those as part of her selection process. We can switch to the next slide, please. So one of the things that June's put together here is, you know, how do you recognise that you are that person with those soft skills? So she poses some questions here. You know, perhaps you're the parent who encourages their kids to invite their friends to play after school, especially the child who is new to the class, and maybe they get asked to stay for tea, and perhaps they get some support with the homework as well. The soft skills that sort of underpin that sort of person, that they might not even realise that they're displaying those soft skills, but, you know, being compassionate, giving of their best and advocating to others. These will be a continuing theme that you'll see on the bottom of every slide that June's presented. And to the next one, please. So again, in terms of, you know, have you got these skills? Do you recognise yourself? Are you the person who is involved perhaps with community groups? Perhaps you're on the Parent Teacher Association. or you support a faith organisation that organises fundraisings, and do you draw teams together to help get jobs done? And again, you see the same themes coming out below there: team player, using initiative, giving of their best, juggling priorities and being a problem solver, and able to challenge again as appropriate. Next slide. Are you the person in your neighbourhood who somehow just happens to know the name of everyone in the street because you've taken an interest, and you also know their kids' names, and you know about your neighbours' families in a way that's driven by kindness and compassion, not out of nosiness, I guess is what June is saying there. And perhaps you will recognise yourself because you're the person that gets the phone call or gets the knock on the door when something's gone wrong, because people know that you will be accommodating, and if you can't help, perhaps you know somebody who can. Perhaps you're the person that gives somebody a lift, or can just sort of help with the childminding a little bit. So again, the same sort of empathy, problem solving, rising to the occasion and being compassionate underpin the recognition of that individual that you might be. And I think to the last slide now, or second to last, I particularly liked this one. Are you the person in your family who organises the get-togethers? Are you the one who remembers what people like to eat? Perhaps you're the one who remembers the allergies as well. And also perhaps you're aware of the dynamics of who is and isn't on the greatest of terms, and perhaps you help to kind of smooth that a little bit. And you want to make people feel comfortable. You provide the comfy chair or spots who needs rescuing from the family bore, and yet you still manage to kind of pull it together and throw a great party. So again, emotionally intelligent, you're able to juggle priorities, you're looking out for others, problem solving, using your initiative, you're resilient, but very likely to be great fun as well. So I thought that was a great presentation from June. It's a shame that she wasn't here to talk that through herself, but we'll thank her, and I will thank her afterwards for putting it together. So we're now about to move into a little bit of Q&A chat mop-up. I'm going to ask my colleague Danielle to see, I haven't really been checking the chat to see if there are any new themes that have emerged before I hand us over to Namdi and Gokar again, who's going to close the day for us. Let me just have a quick look. Yeah, hi Danielle.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Yeah, people are just asking about where we're going to be sharing the recordings from today, and we will most certainly make you all aware of that. So I guess just a big thank you to everyone who's come along, and I know that we are now running overtime, so good to get us to a close.
Yeah, just one real quickie is to say there has been a link put into the chat to ask you to complete a questionnaire and give us feedback if you possibly can. And I will now hand over to Namdi. Do we have a closing presentation, Lamide?
Thank you all very much. So I guess what I wanted to say was a big thank you, first of all, to all our speakers today, our organisers who organised this event. I think we really want you to join us on our journey of growing this organisation. So I think, if I was going to say anything, I think it's a different way of doing things. We're doing things online and we're doing it virtually. I really want to thank everyone who's really taken the time out today to come and speak to us, talk us through the sessions. We have a number of closing slides, if we can put them up, please. I just want to run through very quickly.
I think we're just trying to get the closing slides up there, just listing the current vacancies and a little bit about NHS professionals.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I guess what we want to say is, we want you to come and work for us. We have a number of vacancies on our website. For those of you who joined us today, our website link is in the chat. It's slam.nhs.uk. We regularly advertise vacancies across the organisation, with a number of different roles. As I said in the beginning, clinical and non-clinical roles. These are some of the roles we have available now. If anyone is interested in looking at our website, you can see key roles like activity coordinators. We have senior administrative roles, peer support workers, and clinical support workers. So please do look out for these roles. Go onto our website if you can. Next slide, please. I think importantly as well, we do have a temporary staffing workforce. So we work with NHS professionals, and they regularly have vacancies available as well for healthcare assistants, healthcare workers. The email address is added here if you wish to think about any of the roles available. So these are some of the roles they have available now, currently advertising long-term placements. So please do check these out as well. I know there's been a lot of chat about certain roles, what roles people are looking for. Some of these are available now. You can join NHSP as an interim worker. You can also volunteer your services to work with us. Next slide, please. And I think the important thing is we want you to come and join us. We are a really friendly organisation. You've heard from lots of our staff, our speakers. You've heard really heartfelt stories. You know, we want to employ people from our local communities. We want to give people a fresh start into coming to work. So please do join us. We want to have the right people in the right place at the right time. Support our service users. Every role is important in our organisation. Everything you do is important, and the ultimate aim is that we want to support service users to live better quality lives. So please do join us and do come to us and grow with us as well, because you've heard a lot about our education programs, what we have to offer across the organisation. So we look forward to hearing from loads of you. Go to the next slide. So thank you for listening. I said thanks to all of our speakers. It's been a really good, interesting day. I'm sure we'll have a lot more of these in the future. And thanks to everyone who's organised this and all our managers for giving the time up to give their presentations. So don't forget, leave any feedback in the chat. As was mentioned, there's going to be a recording of this session. If you want to view it, we'll make that available as well. Thank you all very much. Do have a nice, safe day. Thank you.